Hi. Wow, there's a lot of people here. My name's Nik Mavromatis. I'm a chef. I've worked a few places around. The Bicycle Thief. I'm currently at Mediterranean Foods, doing some things down there. And I was going to talk about molecular gastronomy. It's a new movement in food that will be coming to a restaurant near you, and focuses on some of the new styles and things that you'll see on your plates coming straight away. So let's start it up. First of all, the culinary craft hasn't changed in about 500 years, with the basic tools, the knives, the ovens, and everything like that you see on the people and those working there to prepare what is essentially a craft rather than an art, and blending that together with what is the science coming from the future with the food technology. You see a lot more chemicals on the back of the foodstuffs that you see everywhere coming into the packets, the supermarkets. Here we've got alginate and a calcium chloride, which is cheese salt. So these are relatively common things that you'd find within your food and nothing really too exciting, but people overlook the abilities to use those within common cooking. And you also find a lot of organic, natural compounds in there. Soy lecithin used for holding emulsifiers, citrus pectins for making jelly. And a lot of this has been started by Ferran Adrià, who runs El Bulli in Spain, and has started to blend the scientific knowledge and the new technologies that are emerging to bring us together into a new style of food and a new playful way of taking things and putting it together. This here is a vacuum packing machine, allowing people to cook food under pressure and under seal to keep the flavours within and keeping all the moisture inside and opening cell walls when you're doing your cooking. One of the items that El Bulli used most famously was they blindfolded and put earmuffs on people who were dining there and then got them to eat their food so that they could hear the texture of the foods that they were eating. So I decided to do a carrot. It was particularly pleasant. One of the things when you move into this sort of stuff is you see a lot more different tools than you would in the average kitchen. So you get to see syringes become a part, very fine scales, so you're measuring in micrograms. We've got a food dye there as well. But you have to be very accurate when you're measuring these things. This is not just sort of a haphazard, let's throw a handful of garlic or stock in there. So what we've done is we've taken a beetroot puree there, mixed it with that alginate that you saw earlier, then dripping it just drip, drip, drip at a time into the calcium chloride solution, and that forms a cell wall on the outside there, so it forms a perfect little sphere. So this technique is called spherification, and what happens is then you wash that out of the calcium chloride and you form small little rounds in your mouth that'll burst when you bite them. So liquid on the inside but solid on the outside, so that you can form different flavours and scatter them around the plates. You also see it a lot in drink making. A lot of the bartenders are moving that way. So this one here, we've already mixed beetroot and horseradish, so you can see the small spheres just dripped at a time. You can do anything else with that, constructing the cell walls. So what you do is you just take a larger spoon or different shapes and drop it into that solution and get it to set in there. So you can create whole different structures out of liquids and then using different forms of that. This is a picture of using pear nectar, which I'd mixed with ouzo, which I was making a drink cocktail out of. And that's the ball hitting the calcium chloride and creating that sphere shape there, which you'll see just in a second. One of the other techniques that you can use there as well is using the syringes. You can make spaghetti forms out of this. So you can make take something like the famous dish is a ham consomme, and setting it with a jelly, you can actually make the strips of ham spaghetti and then use those to cook those and make a sauce rather than the traditional pasta one. So these are rethinking the rules of food as you know it. In this one I've used pears and put them through that vacuum packing machine with the sugar and cardamom syrup, and you can see the colour change in the pears has happened because the cell walls have been opened up through the intense vacuum pressure and allows the sugar syrup to go in there. So what you're tasting as a raw crunchy pear, but it tastes poached from the sugar syrup. This one here is a slice of prosciutto or cured ham, and then what I've done was the traditional pairing is rock melon. And I made a sphere by juicing the rock melon and then making a sphere by using the earlier technique that you saw with the calcium chloride, and then setting that so that when you cut into it, the liquid runs out across. It's like a bacon and egg. Another one is using a soy lecithin, so that's an emulsifier that you'll see on a lot of the foodstuffs around, and using that, this is an Earl Grey foam. So mixing that in with your tea and then using a hand blender allows it to stand up on end, and you can have a solid foam that is just light in your mouth there as well. This is a blood orange suspensoid. We use a xanthan gum to allow it to, it's not quite solid, not quite liquid there, so you can actually float other items in it. In this case, I was just using some of the pear nectar caviar that we were using for that as well. So there's a number of different techniques. And so these are just the basic techniques that you can see that will start being used by a lot of the chefs who are trying to come up with new and innovative ways to sort of mess with your mind when you're dining. One of the things here, instead of using just a blunt instrument of a grill, using a blowtorch to go around and caramelize the outside of some salmon, they're using a metal tube to hold out the inside so you can put the beetroot caviar in the centre. Baking with 2 baking trays, pressing the skin of a salmon in between it, allowing it to crisp, using a triangle mould to wrap it around it, and making a crackling from the salmon skin to go on the outside of that there, which they later fold over into a confit salmon filling. Also, dehydrators have been quite common. You see that just what was traditionally the horrible old leathery apricots, they've been drying them out and then powdering them, and then using, this is orange, lime and raspberry, and mixing them with sugar, and then setting them and making little crystals there, and then scattering those crystals across the plate. But ultimately, whether the question of these things is more satisfying to you to dine upon, whether it's more satisfying for your soul, I guess it comes back to an artistic or an intrinsically human way of eating, nutritionally, cerebrally. There's a number of different ways that you can look at this, and whether we want to go forward in that manner or simply we just want to eat something that tastes good. Cool.